Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're going to help you absolutely crush it
Yeah.
in that upcoming interview for an import-export manager in machine tools.
Yeah.
We've got a whole stack of resources, sample interview questions, industry trends, insights into career progression.
Absolutely. We're going to give you that edge that you need to not just answer those questions, but really impress that hiring manager.
Exactly. So let's jump right in. Let's start with those interview questions.
Okay.
And you know what's really interesting is the career guide highlights that a lot of companies are expanding globally right now, which means they're on the hunt for skilled import-export managers.
For sure.
Especially in specialized fields like machine tools.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's a candidate-driven market.
Okay.
Which means you have more leverage to showcase what makes you stand out.
Love that. Okay, so first question.
Right.
Can you walk me through your experience in managing import and export operations?
Okay.
I feel like this one is all about painting a clear picture of what you've actually done.
You're absolutely right. It's not just about listing those job titles you've had. It's about showcasing the depth and the breadth of your experience. Think about the specific machine tools that you've handled, like lathes, milling machines, grinders, the countries you've worked with, and the challenges that you've overcome.
So instead of saying, I managed import-export operations, give a concrete example like, I coordinated the import of a 5-axis CNC machining center from Germany, ensuring compliance with EU safety regulations, and negotiating a CIF contract that reduced shipping costs by 10%.
Now you're talking. That kind of specificity is what makes you memorable. And here's where RoleCatcher can come in really handy. Their AI can analyze that specific job description and help you tailor your examples to highlight those skills that they're actually looking for.
That's super helpful, especially when you're applying for multiple roles with slightly different requirements.
Exactly. Now, be prepared for a follow-up question. They might ask, can you tell me about a time when a shipment was delayed? How did you handle the situation? They want to see your problem-solving skills. They want to see them in action.
They're digging deeper.
Yeah.
Okay, into that ability to handle real-world challenges.
Precisely. And remember, it's not just about what you did. It's about how you approached that problem. Did you analyze the cause of the delay? Did you communicate proactively with the stakeholders? Did you implement a creative solution? You really want to walk them through your thought process and demonstrate your analytical and communication skills.
All right. Next question. How have you handled customs issues in the past?
Okay.
I'm guessing this one's all about compliance and demonstrating that you know how to navigate the complexities of international trade.
You hit the nail on the head. Customs issues are inevitable in this line of work, so they really want to see that you can handle them calmly, effectively. Think about a specific example. Maybe a time when a shipment was held up because of incorrect HS codes or missing documentation.
Well, the career guide actually mentioned that machine tools often have specific HS codes.
Right.
And may even be subject to export controls.
Yeah.
Due to embedded software or potential dual-use applications.
That's a great point. If you've dealt with those complexities, definitely highlight them. It shows a deeper understanding of the nuances of this particular field.
So instead of just saying, I resolved the customs issue, you'd say something like, I identified that discrepancy in the HS code for the robotic arm, provided the necessary documentation to customs officials, and successfully expedited the release of the shipment, minimizing production downtime for the client.
Now you're speaking their language. That kind of detail demonstrates not just your knowledge, but also your impact.
I love that. And this is where RoleCatcher's AI feedback can be so helpful because it can analyze your response.
Yes.
Suggest ways to make it even stronger.
For sure.
Highlighting those key words, ensuring you're hitting those key points that interviewers are looking for.
It's like having a personal coach helping you refine your answers.
Yes.
And boost your confidence.
I love that. Okay, next question. How do you stay up to date with changes in import and export regulations?
Great question.
I imagine they're looking for someone who's proactive and committed to continuous learning.
Absolutely. The world of international trade is constantly in flux, so it's crucial to demonstrate that you're actively staying ahead of the curve. Think about the concrete steps that you take to stay informed.
The career guide emphasized, like attending workshops, subscribing to industry publications, and joining trade associations as effective ways to stay current on those regulations.
Right.
Maybe even mentioning specific publications like the Journal of International Commerce or the World Customs Journal.
Yeah, those are great examples. And don't be afraid to mention recent regulatory changes you've been following. maybe updates to EU machinery directives or U.S. export control reforms. It shows that you're not just passively reading, but actively engaging with the evolving landscape.
So instead of just saying, I rate industry publications, you could say,
No.
I recently attended a workshop on the latest updates to the Harmonized System Nomenclature. And I'm currently following developments in the U.S.-EU Trade and Technology Council to understand how potential changes might impact transatlantic trade in machine tools.
That's a perfect example of showcasing your proactive approach to staying informed.
And this is where RoleCatcher's AI can be a real game changer.
Yeah.
You can actually input that specific job description, and it'll pull out the most relevant skills and knowledge areas, helping you tailor those answers to what that particular company is looking for.
It takes the guesswork out of interview preparation.
I love it. All right, moving on to another question. How do you ensure compliance with import and export regulations?
Okay.
I feel like this one is all about showcasing your systems and processes.
You're right on the money. They want to see that you take compliance seriously. And you have a structured approach to ensuring everything is by the book. Think about the specific steps that you take, from conducting internal audits to developing training programs for your team.
The career guide mentioned that some import-export managers use specialized software to track regulatory changes and manage those compliance requirements. Maybe highlighting your experience with those tools would be beneficial.
Absolutely. If you've implemented any technology solutions, definitely mention them. It shows that you're tech-savvy and committed to leveraging tools to enhance compliance.
So instead of saying, I make sure we follow the rules, you say something like, I've implemented a cloud-based compliance management system that tracks regulatory updates, automates document checks, and provides real-time alerts to ensure we're always in compliance with the latest requirements.
That's a powerful statement that showcases your proactive and tech-driven approach.
I love it. And remember, RoleCatcher's AI can help you refine these responses, ensuring you're using the right keywords.
Absolutely.
And highlighting those most impactful aspects of your experience.
It's like having a secret weapon in your interview arsenal.
Yes. Okay, next question. How do you manage relationships with suppliers and customers in different countries? This feels like it's all about your communication skills and cultural intelligence.
You're spot on. In this role, you are a global ambassador for your company. You're going to be interacting with people from diverse cultures and backgrounds, so they want to see that you can build rapport, navigate those differences, and foster strong relationships.
The career guide emphasized the importance of adapting your communication style. Being mindful of cultural nuances. And even learning basic phrases in other languages to show respect. And build rapport.
Those are excellent points. Think about specific instances where you've successfully navigated those cultural differences. Maybe a time when you had to adjust your communication style to align with the cultural norms of a supplier in Japan.
Or a customer in Brazil.
So instead of just saying, I'm good at communicating with people from different cultures, you could say, I recently negotiated a major contract with a Chinese manufacturer. I took the time to learn about their business etiquette and communication preferences, which really helped build trust and facilitated a smooth negotiation process.
That's a fantastic example. It demonstrates your cultural sensitivity and your willingness to go the extra mile to build those strong relationships.
I love that. And remember, RoleCatcher's AI can analyze your responses and suggest ways to make them even more impactful, helping you highlight those specific skills and experiences that resonate with the company's values.
Absolutely.
All right. Next question. How do you manage logistics and transportation for import and export operations? I imagine this one is all about demonstrating your understanding of the complexities of global shipping, especially when dealing with heavy machinery like machine tools.
You're right. It's not just about getting things from point A to point B. It's about optimizing those routes, negotiating favorable rates,
ensuring timely and cost-effective delivery, all while adhering to those international regulations.
The career guide mentioned that import-export managers often work with freight forwarders and logistics providers. So highlighting your experience in coordinating those partnerships would be valuable.
Absolutely. Think about specific instances where you had to make strategic decisions about shipping routes or modes of transport. Did you ever have to choose between air freight and sea freight based on time constraints or cost considerations? Or perhaps you had to negotiate a complex, multimodal transport solution involving trucking, rail, and ocean shipping.
So instead of just saying, I manage logistics, you could say, I recently coordinated the shipment of a large industrial lathe from Italy to the United States. To meet the client's tight deadline, I opted for air freight for the initial leg of the journey and then arranged for ground transportation to the final destination. I also negotiated a favorable rate with the freight forwarder and ensured all necessary customs documentation was in order.
That's a great example of showcasing your ability to handle those complex logistics scenarios.
Yes. And don't forget, RoleCatcher can help you fine-tune your responses, making sure they're tailored to the specific requirements of that job description.
Exactly. It's all about putting your best foot forward.
Love it. Okay, next question. How do you manage risk in import and export operations? I know this is a big one, especially in today's unpredictable global landscape.
You're absolutely right. There are so many potential risks to consider. Political instability, economic fluctuations, natural disasters, regulatory changes, supply chain disruptions, you name it. They want to see that you're not just aware of these risks, but actively planning for them and implementing strategies to mitigate them.
The career guide emphasized the importance of conducting risk assessments, developing those contingency plans, and having a proactive approach to identifying and addressing those potential challenges.
Think about specific instances where you've had to navigate risky situations. Maybe you had to reroute a shipment due to political unrest in a particular region, secure additional insurance coverage for goods in transit through a hurricane-prone area, or find an alternative supplier when your primary source was impacted by a natural disaster.
So instead of just saying, I manage risk, you could say, I recently faced a challenge when a key supplier in China was affected by a COVID-19 outbreak. To mitigate the risk of supply chain disruption, I proactively identified and qualified a backup supplier in Southeast Asia, ensuring continuity of supply for our clients.
That's a perfect example of demonstrating your ability to anticipate and manage risk effectively.
Yes. And again, RoleCatcher's AI feedback can be invaluable in helping you highlight those most impactful aspects of your experience and ensuring your answers align with the specific requirements of that role.
It's like having a personalized interview coach guiding you every step of the way.
All right. Next question. How do you manage budgets for import and export operations? I'm guessing this one's all about showcasing your financial acumen and your ability to control costs.
You're right. They want to see that you can create realistic budgets, track expenses diligently, and make sound financial decisions that contribute to the company's bottom line.
The career guide mentioned that import-export managers often use specialized software to manage budgets and track expenses.
Yep.
Highlighting your experience with those tools could be beneficial.
Absolutely. If you've used any software for financial forecasting, budget tracking, or cost analysis, definitely mention it. It shows that you're comfortable working with financial data and leveraging technology to manage budgets effectively.
So instead of just saying, I manage budgets, you could say, I've developed and implemented a comprehensive budgeting system for our import-export operations, utilizing specialized software to track expenses, monitor variances, and identify cost-saving opportunities. I also regularly review shipping rates, customs duties, and insurance premiums to ensure we're getting the most competitive pricing.
That's a strong statement that showcases your financial management skills and your proactive approach to cost control.
I love it. And of course, RoleCatcher can help you refine those responses, making sure you're hitting those key points that interviewers are looking for.
It's all about maximizing your impact and showcasing your value.
Okay. Last question for this section. How do you measure the success of import and export operations? I feel like this one goes beyond just whether the shipment arrived on time and within budget.
You're right. It's about understanding the broader impact of your operations on the company's overall success. They want to see that you're not just focused on the tactical execution of tasks, but also thinking strategically about how your work contributes to the company's goals and objectives.
The career guide mentioned that key performance indicators, KPIs, are essential for measuring the success of import-export operations.
Absolutely. Think about the KPIs that are most relevant to this role. On-time delivery rates, cost per shipment, customs clearance efficiency, order fulfillment accuracy, customer satisfaction ratings, inventory turnover rates, and ultimately contribution to company revenue or profitability.
So instead of just saying, we track our performance, you could say, I've implemented a system to track key performance indicators, such as on-time delivery rates, cost per shipment, and customs clearance efficiency. By closely monitoring these metrics, I've been able to identify areas for improvement, streamline processes, and ultimately enhance our overall operational efficiency and profitability.
Now you're talking. That kind of data-driven approach is what impresses hiring managers.
And don't forget, RoleCatcher's AI can analyze your responses,
Yeah.
suggest improvements,
Right.
and help you tailor your answers to the specific requirements of the job description.
It's like having a personal interview coach in your pocket.
I love that. So we've tackled some of the most common interview questions, and I'm already feeling more confident.
Remember, practice makes perfect. Use those insights from RoleCatcher's AI and rehearse those answers until you feel confident and comfortable.
And stay tuned for the next part of our deep dive, where we'll explore career progression and highlight how RoleCatcher can help you stand out from the competition.
We'll give you the insights you need to not just land the job, but thrive in your import-export career. Welcome back to the deep dive. In the last section, we tackled some of those tough interview questions, giving you the strategies to really impress even the most seasoned hiring manager.
And we talked about how RoleCatcher can give you a real advantage in tailoring those answers and showcasing those skills that those hiring managers are looking for.
Now let's shift gears a little bit and zoom out to the bigger picture, your career path in import-export management. The career guide outlines several distinct stages, each with increasing responsibility and complexity.
So you're saying it's not just one job title, but a whole career ladder I can climb. That's exciting.
Exactly. Think of it as a journey where you're constantly learning and growing. You might start as an entry-level import-export coordinator, where you're really focused on the details like documentation, logistics, and gaining a solid understanding of those customs regulations.
So it's all about building that foundational knowledge. The career guide even includes example profiles for each stage.
Right.
What can we learn from those?
Those profiles offer a glimpse into the day-to-day realities of each role. For example, the entry-level coordinator might be responsible for ensuring accuracy in shipping documents, coordinating with freight forwarders, and classifying machine tools using the correct HS codes.
Okay, so very hands-on and detail-oriented. What about the next stage? The import-export specialist. What does that profile look like?
At this level, you're taking on more ownership. You're managing entire transactions, not just assisting. You're developing strategies to optimize efficiency and cost effectiveness. You're also deepening your knowledge of international trade regulations and starting to build those relationships with suppliers and customers overseas.
It sounds like a great step toward leadership.
Yeah.
What does that import-export supervisor profile highlight?
This is where your leadership skills really come into play. You're not only managing your own workload, but also guiding and supporting a team of coordinators. You're building relationships with key stakeholders, maybe even negotiating contracts, and identifying opportunities for the company to expand its international business.
So you're starting to have a bigger impact on the company's success. And finally, we reach the top, the import-export manager. What does that profile tell us about succeeding at this level?
Here, you're the captain of the ship. You're overseeing all aspects of import and export activities, ensuring compliance with those complex global trade regulations, developing strategic plans, maybe even managing international partnerships. You're responsible for leading a team and driving growth for the company in the global marketplace.
It's amazing to see that progression laid out so clearly. The guide also offers some great advice on how to move up that ladder. Continuous learning seems to be key.
Absolutely. The field of international trade, especially for machine tools, is always changing. New technologies, regulations, even trade agreements emerge all the time, so staying ahead of the curve is crucial.
Okay, so how do I actually demonstrate that commitment to learning in an interview?
Think about those specific steps that you're taking. Are you taking online courses in international trade law or logistics? Are you attending industry conferences to learn about the latest trends in machine tools? Have you earned any certifications, like a Certified Global Business Professional designation?
Those are great examples. And what about showcasing my capabilities? How can I go beyond just telling them what I've done?
This is where a portfolio of successful import-export projects can really make a difference. Highlight the challenges that you faced, the solutions you implemented, and the positive results that you achieved. Did you streamline a customs clearance process, saving the company time and money? Did you negotiate a favorable shipping contract that reduced transportation costs? Quantify your achievements whenever possible.
So it's about showing them, not just telling them what I can do. What about networking? The guide mentions that a lot too.
Networking is essential in any field, but especially in a global industry like import-export. Attending industry events is a great way to connect with potential employers, learn about new trends, and build relationships with suppliers and customers. And don't underestimate the power of online platforms like LinkedIn to connect with professionals in your field.
That's a great reminder. Okay, so we've talked about the big picture, the career path, and those crucial skills for advancement. But let's get back to those all-important interview questions. We still have a few more to cover, right?
Right, you are. And remember, RoleCatcher can be your secret weapon throughout this process, helping you tailor your resume, optimize your application answers, and even practice your interview delivery. It's like having a personal career coach at your fingertips.
Okay, so back to those interview questions. The next one is, how do you ensure compliance with import and export regulations? I know we touched on compliance earlier, but this seems like they're really drilling down into the specifics.
You're absolutely right. They want to see that you have a deep understanding of the regulations and a structured approach to ensuring compliance. This is especially important when dealing with machine tools, as they can be subject to more stringent regulations due to their potential dual-use applications.
So it's not just about knowing the rules, it's about having systems and processes in place to make sure those rules are followed. What kind of things should I highlight here?
Think about the concrete actions that you take. Do you have a robust compliance manual that outlines all the relevant regulations and procedures? Do you conduct regular training for your team to ensure everyone is up to speed on the latest changes? Have you implemented any technology solutions to automate compliance checks and minimize the risk of errors?
The career guide mentioned that some companies use specialized software to track regulatory changes and manage compliance documentation. Would mentioning those kinds of tools be helpful?
Absolutely. If you've used any software to streamline compliance processes, definitely mention it. It shows that you're tech-savvy and committed to leveraging technology to improve efficiency and accuracy.
So instead of just saying, I make sure we follow the rules, I could say something like, I've implemented a cloud-based compliance management system that tracks regulatory updates, automates document checks, and provides real-time alerts to ensure we're always in compliance with the latest import and export requirements.
That's a great example. It demonstrates a proactive and tech-driven approach to compliance.
And I imagine RoleCatcher's AI could help me refine that answer, making sure I'm using the right keywords and highlighting the most relevant aspects of my experience.
Exactly. RoleCatcher can analyze the specific job description and suggest ways to tailor your answers to the company's specific needs and priorities.
Okay, next question. How do you manage relationships with suppliers and customers in different countries? We touched on cultural intelligence earlier, but this seems like it's really diving into the heart of international communication.
You're right. In the import-export world, you're not just dealing with goods, you're dealing with people. And those people come from diverse cultures, backgrounds, and time zones. The interviewer wants to see that you can build rapport, navigate those differences, and establish strong, collaborative relationships across borders.
The career guide emphasized the importance of active listening, empathy, and being respectful of cultural differences. It also mentioned that learning basic phrases in other languages can go a long way in building rapport.
Those are excellent points. Think about specific examples where you've successfully navigated cultural differences. Maybe you had to adjust your communication style when working with a supplier in Japan, where indirect communication is more common. Or perhaps you had to learn some basic Mandarin to communicate effectively with a manufacturer in China.
So instead of just saying, I'm good at communicating with people from different cultures, I could say something like, I recently had to negotiate a contract with a supplier in Germany. I made sure to research their business etiquette beforehand and learned a few key phrases in German, which helped to build trust and facilitate a smoother negotiation process.
That's a fantastic example. It shows that you're not just aware of cultural differences, but you actively seek to understand and bridge those gaps.
And I bet RoleCatcher's AI could help me refine that answer, tailoring it to the specific company culture and the global regions that they operate in.
Absolutely. RoleCatcher's AI can analyze the company's website, social media, and other online presence to gain insights into their values and global reach, helping you craft answers that resonate with their specific needs.
Okay, next question. How do you manage logistics and transportation for import and export operations? This one seems pretty straightforward, but I'm guessing there's more to it than meets the eye, especially when we're talking about large and complex machinery, like machine tools.
You're absolutely right. It's not just about getting those machines from point A to point B. It's about understanding the entire global supply chain, optimizing routes, negotiating favorable rates with shipping companies and freight forwarders, and ensuring timely and cost-effective delivery, all while complying with a myriad of international regulations.
The career guide mentioned that machine tools often require specialized handling and transportation due to their size, weight, and sensitivity.
That's a great point. If you've dealt with those complexities, definitely highlight them. Have you ever had to arrange for oversized cargo transport, crane loading, or specialized packaging to protect delicate machine components? Those kinds of experiences demonstrate a deeper understanding of the unique logistical challenges involved in shipping machine tools.
So instead of just saying, I manage logistics, I could say something like, I recently coordinated the shipment of a 5-axis CNC machining center from Germany to the United States. I had to arrange for specialized heavy lift trucking, ocean freight with climate-controlled containers and crane loading at the destination port to ensure that the machine arrives safely and on schedule.
Now you're painting a vivid picture of your logistical expertise.
And I'm sure RoleCatcher's AI could help me fine-tune that answer, making sure it aligns with the company's specific shipping and logistics needs.
Absolutely. RoleCatcher can analyze the company's location, the markets they serve, and their product lines to gain insights into their typical shipping routes and logistical challenges, helping you tailor your answers accordingly.
Okay, next question. How do you manage risk in import and export operations? We talked about risk management earlier in a general sense, but I'm curious to hear how it applies specifically to the world of machine tools.
You're right. Risk management is a constant consideration in this field, but certain risks are more pronounced when dealing with high-value, complex machinery. Think about the potential for damage during shipping, delays due to customs inspections, or even the risk of theft or fraud.
The career guide mentioned that some machine tools might be subject to export controls due to their potential dual-use applications. Could that pose a risk?
Absolutely. Export controls can be a major challenge in the machine tools industry. If you've had to navigate those complexities, applying for export licenses, classifying machines correctly, or ensuring compliance with international sanctions, definitely highlight that experience. It shows that you understand the potential risks and can navigate those sensitive situations.
So instead of just saying, I manage risk, I could say something like, I recently had to obtain an export license for a high-precision grinding machine being shipped to a customer in a country with strict export controls. I carefully reviewed the regulations, prepared the necessary documentation, and worked closely with government agencies to ensure compliance and avoid any delays or penalties.
That's a great example of showcasing your knowledge of export controls and your ability to manage those risks effectively.
And again, I'm guessing RoleCatcher's AI could help me refine that answer, making sure I'm using the right terminology and highlighting the most relevant aspects of my experience for that specific role.
You got it. RoleCatcher can analyze the company's product portfolio, their target markets, and their past export activities to gain insights into the specific export control challenges they might face, helping you tailor your answers to demonstrate your understanding of their unique needs.
Okay, next question. How do you manage budgets for import and export operations? This one seems like it's all about showcasing your financial acumen and your ability to control costs, which I imagine is especially important when dealing with high-value capital equipment, like machine tools.
You're right on the money. Machine tools are a significant investment for any company, so hiring managers want to be confident that you can manage budgets effectively and maximize the return on investment. This means not only tracking expenses diligently, but also negotiating favorable pricing with suppliers, optimizing shipping costs, and minimizing the risk of delays or penalties that can eat into profits.
The career guide mentioned that import-export managers often use specialized software to track expenses, manage budgets, and generate financial reports. Would mentioning those types of tools be helpful?
Absolutely. If you've used any software for financial forecasting, budget tracking, or cost analysis, definitely highlight that experience. It shows that you're comfortable working with financial data and that you leverage technology to manage budgets effectively.
So instead of just saying, I manage budgets, I could say something like, I developed and implemented a comprehensive budgeting system for our import-export operations, using specialized software to track expenses, monitor variances against the budget, and identify opportunities for cost savings. I also regularly review currency exchange rates, customs duties, and shipping rates to ensure we're getting the most competitive pricing.
That's a strong statement that showcases your financial management skills and your proactive approach to cost control.
And I'm sure RoleCatcher's AI could help me fine-tune that answer, making sure I'm using the right terminology and highlighting the most relevant aspects of my experience for that specific company.
Precisely. RoleCatcher can analyze the company's financial statements, their industry benchmarks, and their overall financial health to gain insights into their budgetary priorities, helping you tailor your answers to demonstrate your understanding of their unique financial goals.
Okay, last question for this section. How do you measure the success of import and export operations? I feel like this question goes beyond just whether the shipment arrived on time and within budget. It's about understanding the broader impact of your operations on the company's overall success.
You're absolutely right. Hiring managers want to see that you're not just focused on the tactical execution of import and export tasks, but that you're also thinking strategically about how your work contributes to the company's overall goals and objectives.
The career guide emphasized the importance of key performance indicators, KPIs, for measuring the success of import and export operations. What are some of the most relevant KPIs for this role?
When it comes to machine tools, some of the most important KPIs might include on-time delivery rates, cost per shipment, customs clearance efficiency, order fulfillment accuracy, customer satisfaction ratings, inventory turnover rates, and ultimately contribution to company revenue or profitability.
So instead of just saying, we track our performance, I can say something like, I've implemented a system to track key performance indicators, such as on-time delivery rates, cost per shipment, and customs clearance efficiency. By closely monitoring these metrics, I've been able to identify areas for improvement, streamline processes, and ultimately enhance our overall operational efficiency and profitability.
Now you're talking. That kind of data-driven approach is music to a hiring manager's ears.
And I'm sure RoleCatcher's AI could help me fine-tune that answer, making sure I'm using the right terminology and highlighting the most relevant KPIs for that specific company.
You got it. RoleCatcher can analyze the company's annual reports, their investor presentations, and their industry benchmarks to gain insights into the KPIs they prioritize, helping you tailor your answers to demonstrate your understanding of their unique definition of success.
Wow. This deep dive has been a whirlwind of valuable information. I'm already feeling so much more prepared for my interview. But before we move on to the final section, I want to remind our listeners about the incredible resources available on RoleCatcher.
Absolutely. Their AI-powered platform can help you analyze job descriptions, tailor your answers to application questions, practice your interview responses, and even get feedback on your video rehearsals. It's like having a personal interview coach right at your fingertips.
If you're serious about landing that import-export management role, definitely check out RoleCatcher. You won't regret it. And stay tuned for the final part of our deep dive, where we'll wrap things up with some key takeaways and actionable tips to help you stand out from the competition and ace that interview.
Welcome back to the final part of our deep dives into the world of import-export management for machine tools.
We've covered a lot of ground, from really understanding the ins and outs of the role to tackling those tricky interview questions.
And of course, we've highlighted how RoleCatcher's AI can be your secret weapon in this whole job search. From tailoring your resume to actually getting feedback on those practice interviews, seriously, check it out. Before we wrap up, though, let's distill a few key takeaways. Remember, in this role, you're that bridge between so many different pieces of the puzzle. Internal teams, suppliers, customers, and those ever-changing regulations.
Like being a conductor, making sure the whole orchestra is playing in sync.
That's a great analogy. And that brings us to our next takeaway: continuous learning. The world of international trade is constantly evolving, especially in a specialized field like machine tools. New technologies, regulations, even trade agreements can pop up literally overnight, so staying ahead of the curve is just so crucial.
Yeah, the career guide had some great tips on that. Attending industry events, joining those professional organizations, subscribing to trade publications. It's about making that investment in your own growth.
Absolutely. And remember, when you're in that interview, don't just tell them what you've done, show them. Quantify those accomplishments, highlight those successful projects, really build a portfolio that demonstrates your expertise.
Yeah, that's where RoleCatcher's AI-powered resume builder comes in handy. It can help you showcase those achievements in a way that really catches the hiring manager's eye.
Now let's talk about those soft skills, because they're just as important as your technical knowledge. Think communication, problem solving, adaptability, and especially cultural sensitivity. You're going to be interacting with people from all over the world.
I love how you emphasized active listening earlier. It's not just about talking. It's about truly understanding the needs of your partners, your suppliers, your customers, no matter where they are.
Couldn't agree more. And lastly, remember that risk is a constant companion in this field. Being proactive, anticipating those challenges, having those backup plans, that's what really sets you apart.
It's like playing chess, always thinking a few moves ahead.
Exactly. So to sum it up, be a connector, be a learner, be a problem solver, a communicator, a risk manager, and always, always showcase those incredible skills.
Now, before we say goodbye, I want to leave you with something to ponder. What excites you most about the world of machine tools and international trade? Is it the complexity of those supply chains, the cutting-edge technology, or maybe the chance to connect with people across the globe?
That's a great question to reflect on. And remember, RoleCatcher is there to support you every step of the way with resources, tools, and a community of career experts. Don't be afraid to reach out and leverage those resources.
Thanks for joining us on the deep dive. We're so excited for you to embark on this journey.
Go out there, ace that interview, and launch that global career. We'll be cheering you on.
Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep reaching for those global goals.